how many years of practice does it even take to become a mentalist? And like, what did you do in your preparation?
So I can't speak to the general sense, but I would say for me, it's taken me about 9 years to do what I do right now. I guess you could still learn and come up with things and understand how mentalism works, study the books and all of that, and then end up doing it. But for me personally, it's taken me 9 years.
Okay.
I started through reading books. Books about magic first, understanding how tricks are done, understanding how sleight of hand works, and then you progress into psychological magic, which is mentalism.
Okay.
So that's like looking at somebody and trying to suss out and see what they're feeling and then getting to the thought. So that's the distinction between them as such. But yeah, it just mainly began through books. And I think the longer I spend in it, the more I realize the better I am getting at certain aspects of it. So I think that's still growing. But primarily, it's just the whole thing that we hear, right? About 10,000 hours or just spending more than that on a certain thing that people don't think that you would spend that much time doing. And then eventually it turns out into something that's, I guess, worth showing people.
Right. So you're talking about, for example, it being a skill that is refined and you have practice, obviously.
Yeah.
But do you think it comes naturally? Does people that are mentalists, does it come naturally to them? Or can anybody just practice and be able to do it?
Wow, that's nuanced. My answer is going to be nuanced. So there's two parts to it. One, you have to have a certain knack for it.
Yeah.
That could be as a performer, as a person who likes psychology, or as a person who enjoys doing magic tricks, who just has a flair of being in front of people and making sure people have a good time. That's one part to it. The second part to it is you can learn it. Everything is learnable. It's not something inborn.
Okay.
The only thing inborn is really the knack for performing.
Right.
And then the rest of it just adds on to it. So you can learn it.
Right.
And it's not easy because there's a lot of trial and error. A lot of A/B testing, a lot of failing, getting it right, getting it wrong. But then you have to be okay with that being seen, performing in front of people.
Yeah, because I would assume that you can maybe like have the skill of doing magic, but then I think it's a different art form to be able to be a good orator, be a good performer, be confident, be able to face so many people, right?
Yeah, that's true. In many ways, that's true. But then those are also things that you can build as you go.
Right.
As a product or as a person or as a artist, you don't have to be like, that's not how I was before.
Okay.
I think those are skills that I built over time.
Okay.
I was pretty okay, to be honest.
Okay.
And I still think I'm pretty okay. But you spend enough time doing it and then you just realize that each one of those things with every performance keeps climbing and getting better and better and better. So that's how you build all those other skills.
Okay.
But they are so important to refining and making sure that you mount the whole skill of mentalism and magic in that way.
But there's no place specifically for anybody to learn this skill, right?
Hogwarts is pretty good.
Otherwise, you have to learn from books and other people. YouTube.
Gryffindor. I'm kidding. Yeah, so it's mainly books. And there's also people who perform and teach.
Okay.
My influences in magic generally come from the West. Because there's people who, I'll take a few names like Joshua J, like Max Maven, Doug McKenzie. These are great performers and they put out their lecture notes. So they put out books as well. They publish books on magic solely for the art form to thrive and get to people.
Right.
Magic has a lot of barriers to entry because the art form thrives on secrecy. So once you're interested in doing it, then you have to show interest by actually going and buying a book, reading through it, and then you go down the rabbit hole. There's going to be another source cited over there or a performance video linked somewhere. And then once you get an idea and a sizable magic library, that's when you can actually build on that skill and, start creating things of your own that people perhaps have not come up with before, but you've added something to the whole world of illusion in your own way.
But in your personal life, won't it be a hindrance because everybody around you will be like, he knows what I'm thinking. I can't think like
I have a really hard time making friends because everybody is just like their guards up like that. But no, I think the people who are closest to me know that it's an art I practice rather than a way I live 24/7. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a lifestyle for me. So I learn about it. I'm constantly reading about magic and mentalism, and I'm always on the lookout for trying different things.
Right.
So the only way it really affects me is being obsessively wanting to come up with create things.
Okay.
And I get my inspiration from pretty much everywhere. But I will say that the beginning, say 3 or 4 years of me doing this was hard because may not appear so, but I'm an introvert. And a big part of me being myself actually comes when I'm in my own sanctuary, my own space. I like that.
Okay.
And constantly when you're out there around people at all times, you do get a little sensitive to people's emotions to a point where it can kick your brain into overdrive where you're just like,
you can overthink.
yeah, you can you get a little, I mean, yeah, you can be a little extra wary and overthink about what people are thinking. And yeah, that happened to me too.
For me, it is just better for me to be out there and with people because I'm an extrovert.
Yeah,
so for you, it must be contradictory.
No, I think I'm somewhere in the middle. I mean, I'm a learned extrovert, so I have that balance. But I actually enjoy it right now because it's both of them complement each other. It's like the yin and the yang, right?
Yeah,
in a way.
Like
even though you're an extrovert, you'd want time by yourself to
True.
function at your best.
True.
So I think it's a little bit of both.
I studied psychology in college, and that taught me a lot, obviously, about like human behavior and like child behavior and all of that. And so we did a lot of studies on that. So I understand like the basics of where you get from like the emotional side of it. But does being a mentalist or being in this field, does it require some kind of understanding of psychology or the study of psychology?
Yeah. It can help in many ways. Like I'm glad that you have formulated, and I wish I had that when I began.
Okay.
But I think I've informally educated myself when it comes to psychology over a period of time.
Okay.
And I think that has lent well to me actually trying and making my effects a little more plausible, or to just add some sort of connection to people's normal way of thinking, because at the end of the day, if you are creating psychological illusions, psychological tricks, it obviously helps if you understand how human behavior works, how people are motivated, what they like, what they dislike, what kind of stories do people carry. And if you really tear it down, I think all of us, in maybe not all the same ways, but everybody has a certain template. Everybody has embarrassing stories. Everybody has moments that really make them happy and states of minds that actually lead them to that. So I think we just try and be aware of those things and then read as much as you can and then apply yourself to the best.
Okay, but that brings me to a question that I've had for magicians and mentalists for like the longest time, is that do you think that it is ethical?
I think if your only promise to people is, hey, come watch my show, be blown away, have a few laughs, and I'm going to gift you a sense of wonder, I don't think that falls under it being ethical or unethical. It's just a willing suspension of disbelief for people.
Because I've just read that it is manipulation of the mind also, because you're actually doing something, say showing something else, right?
So magic has a lot of things like misdirection, getting people to look somewhere, for example, while the whole thing is happening somewhere else. And mentalism has things where, so if I were to break this down to the entire science of it, I would just say that our brains obviously have certain blind spots. And as magicians and mentalists, the only thing we exploit is these blind spots to give you that sense of awe.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, everything becomes, pretty expected.
Okay.
So I think the most common emotion is surprise. And surprise in magic and in mentalism, in magic more so, comes through deception.
Yes.
And deception is, in most cases, seen as a negative word. But I think when we as magicians use it, I think it's always positive, because we try to not alter your reality to make you act or behave a certain way, but just so that you walk away with the sense of, how did that happen?
Wow.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Right.
So that's the key thing.
So tell me, how lucrative is it for somebody to become a mentalist today? We don't have formal education around it. We don't have teachers. We don't even have so many people in this industry doing it. So is it if somebody wants to get into it, they like magic, do you think it's something that's sustainable, something that they can do in the long run and be able to make a livelihood out of it?
I think if you're getting into magic or mentalism purely to make money, it's not the best idea, which doesn't mean that it's not well paying or anything. I think I'm pretty happy doing what I'm doing. I'm very happy financially as well. But when you begin, it's not going to kick off. It's not going to kick off in a big way. You have to be okay with the crests and troughs and the ups and downs and all of that. I think over a period of time, what will happen is that you get very, very comfortable in your own skin. You start being a little bit more of yourself, because like any other art form, be it comedy, be it music, could be anything. You're going to do other people's work. You're going to replicate art. You're not going to create your own stuff in the beginning. Over a period of time, you start remixing it to fit your style. You start discovering yourself as a person, as a performer. That authenticity actually connects with people. And then that's when you start gaining traction in this field. And I think that's really important, because people, and I've been doing this for 9 years, I think people are very smart, and they can smell authenticity from a mile away. I think not that would be anybody's intention, but I think it happens over a period of time where you have to actually be okay, discover, learn, and then does it start becoming lucrative and fun for you.
Yeah, I think it takes time.
It takes time
to establish yourself.
Yeah. It takes a lot of conscious driven effort to make it look like it's natural, like it's great. Then there are a lot of other things, like there are some audiences that like a certain kind of magic, a certain kind of effect on mentalism. Then there are certain audiences that want just the basics. They don't care about mentalism. They will never understand it. They just want to see visual, hard-hitting, cool magic.
Right.
So you have to be able to read your audience. So there's many skills. It's not just the art of magic, because if that was the case, I think we'd have many more magicians in India.
Right.
And I guess we don't. And there's enough to go around for everyone, because India is so huge.
Exactly. There's a lot of scope.
So, but yeah, for me, financially, it's been great. When somebody's just starting out, is this the only thing they should rely on? Maybe not.
Okay.
Have a backup and then dabble in both is what I did. So I can only speak to that.
Yeah. But what are the different avenues that a mentalist or a magician can make money in India?
Astrology, numerology.
Okay.
No, there's people who do that as well. But as a mentalist, you do corporate shows where you get hired out by a corporate to do something specific, launch a new product, be a consultant. You do wedding shows, which a lot of people do. I do as well, where we get hired to do an entire wedding, be it a pre-wedding thing, like a pre-wedding function, or then doing something on stage. Then there's obviously private events, and then you do your own gigs, like an open mic, like a speakeasy. So there are two models. One where you are the traveling performer, and the second where you get people to come and watch you. So you establish a property at maybe a place that lends well to the kind of stuff that you want to do, and then there's people who come to you and they watch a show
directly.
So both of these models exist. And then there's this entire idea of the question and answer. Like, say, everybody needs an oracle in life, right? Like, for example, like could be somebody who's into tarot, or somebody who's into astrology, or anything like that. So there are some mentalists, not in India that I know of, but there are some mentalists in the West who've taken this entire concept and tied magic and reading minds to actually answering people's deepest concerns. And to do so ethically, I think is a big challenge. Brings us back to that whole ethical thing. But I think these are a few basic ways in which mentalists can make do.
What is the future of mentalism through your lens in India, and also what you particularly are looking forward to do in this space?
I'm looking forward to...
do you want to perform for many people? Do you want to educate more people about this? Do you want to just surprise people with your performance?
All of them. Okay. But in many ways, I want to give people an experience that they've never had before with any other performer, mentalist, magician, or they will never have after. I think that's been my personal thing. And to do it in a way that is totally off the cuff, warm, and friendly.
Okay.
I think that's a high goal, to be content with that definition.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to do bigger things and be grander, but I think that's the common denominator that I want across all my shows, and no matter what I do.
Okay.
So it is that. And I want to also at some point host my own, you remember the 2 models I was talking to you about, where you travel and then you
Yes.
have people come and watch your show.
Oh.
So I think in the coming years, I'm moving towards doing my own shows in a place and having people, like an audience that would generally see me do something elsewhere, come and watch magic at a location of my own and experience that, because it's totally different and it's so fun in general.
How is it different, as in, if they have
It's different
to come?
in the sense you're walking into a space that has been specially designed to give you not just wonder, to give you humor, to give you a feeling of horror, a feeling of suspense, a lot of mystery, a lot of surprise. So you can control a lot of variables if you have the space.
Okay.
And you're not just amazing people, you're giving them so much of their own emotions when they come and watch your show.
Right.
So to really use magic to help better people and yeah.